The Galactic Hegemony fleet emerged from hyperspace at the edge of Earth's solar system. Admiral Lee stood on the bridge of the flagship Eternal Dominion, his tall figure casting a shadow across the command deck. His eyes narrowed as he studied the holographic display of the blue planet. "Another primitive world for our collection," he said to Commander Kim, who stood at attention beside him. "Yes, Admiral. Our scans show they barely achieved interplanetary travel." "No significant defenses detected," replied Kim, her voice perfectly measured. Admiral Lee nodded with satisfaction. This would be a simple conquest, like hundreds before it. The hegemony had perfected the art of subjugation, arrive with overwhelming force, demand tribute, and absorb the planet into their empire. "Prepare the diplomatic shuttle. I will deliver the Emperor's demands personally," ordered Lee. What the hegemony didn't know was that Earth had deliberately maintained a facade of technological simplicity. After the resource wars of the 2080s, humanity had united under the Global Defense Pact, developing technologies that remained hidden from prying eyes. Deep beneath the Pacific Ocean, the United Earth Defense Council convened an emergency session. 12 representatives from Earth's unified regions sat around a circular table, faces grim as they watched the alien fleets approach on their monitors. "They're earlier than we expected," said Director Yoon, the head of Earth Intelligence. "Our deep space probes detected their empire's expansion, but we estimated at least another decade before contact." General Choi, a weathered veteran with intense eyes, leaned forward. "Are the defense systems ready?" Dr. Park, Chief of Weapons Development, activated a holographic display at the center of the table. A complex network of satellites and stations appeared, orbiting Earth in stealth configurations. "Project Prometheus is fully operational," she confirmed. "Phase 1 can be deployed within minutes. Phase 2 requires 6 hours to achieve full capacity." President Bay, a calm-faced woman with silver-streaked hair, studied the display of the approaching alien fleet. "How many ships?" 17 capital ships, approximately 200 support vessels, reported Director Yoon. "Based on our intelligence, this is a standard diplomatic force for first contact with pre-FTL civilizations." A communication officer interrupted. "Madam President, we're receiving a transmission from the alien flagship. They're requesting to land a shuttle at the United Nations headquarters in New York." President Bay nodded. "Accept their request. General Choi, prepare a security detail, visible forces only, nothing that reveals our true capabilities." "And if they come with threats?" asked Representative Moon, the youngest council member. "Then we give them their only warning," President Bay replied firmly. 3 hours later, Admiral Lee's shuttle descended through Earth's atmosphere, flanked by fighter escorts. The sleek black vessel landed on the United Nations Plaza, where a small delegation of Earth officials waited. Ambassador Song stepped forward as the shuttle's ramp extended. He was chosen for his calm demeanor and diplomatic experience. Behind him stood a modest honor guard in ceremonial uniforms, hiding the fact that each soldier was equipped with advanced combat implants. Admiral Lee emerged from the shuttle, towering over the human delegation. His skin had a faint purple sheen, and his eyes reflected light like polished obsidian. 4 armed guards followed him, carrying ornate weapons that doubled as symbols of the hegemony's power. "I bring words from Emperor Kong, ruler of the galactic hegemony and protector of 1,000 worlds," Lee announced, his translation device converting his speech to perfect English. "Your planet has been noticed by the Empire and found worthy of integration." Ambassador Song bowed slightly. "Earth welcomes peaceful contact with all spacefaring civilizations. We are honored by your visit." Admiral Lee smiled, revealing teeth filed to points, a military tradition in the hegemony. "Integration is simple. The Emperor requires tribute 20% of your world's resources annually, and 10 million humans to serve in the Imperial forces. In exchange, you receive the Emperor's protection and limited access to our technologies." A murmur ran through the Earth delegation. Ambassador Song maintained his diplomatic composure. "This is an unexpected proposal. Our leadership will need time to consider such terms." "You have 1 planetary rotation," said Admiral Lee, his voice hardening. "The alternative is demonstration of force that your world cannot withstand." Many have chosen that path. None exist today. As the Admiral returned to his shuttle, Ambassador Song activated his secure communication implant. Madam President, they've made their threat. Shall we proceed with the plan? President Bay's voice came through clearly in his inner ear. Yes. Prepare the warning. If they want to see Earth's strength, we'll show them exactly why they should have stayed away. The next day, Ambassador Song returned to the United Nations Plaza where the Hegemony shuttle waited. This time, he carried only a small black box made of an unknown material. Behind him walked 4 guards in simple uniforms, each carefully selected for their calm under pressure. Admiral Lee stood at the shuttle's base, flanked by his own security team and diplomat Han, the Emperor's personal representative who had arrived overnight. Han wore elaborate ceremonial armor that shifted colors in the sunlight, designed to impress and intimidate primitive species. Your time has expired, Admiral Lee announced. Has Earth prepared its acceptance of our generous terms? Ambassador Song stepped forward. We have prepared our response. The Earth delegation was escorted into the shuttle and up to a conference room designed to showcase hegemony power. The walls displayed moving images of conquered worlds and massive space battles where hegemony forces crushed all opposition. Diplomat Han sat at the head of a long table made from materials that seemed to absorb and emit light simultaneously. The Emperor grows impatient. Your tribute must be substantial if Earth wishes to avoid unpleasantness. Ambassador Song placed the black box on the table. This is Earth's response. Han laughed, a calculated sound meant to display superiority. A box? Perhaps you misunderstood. We require resources, not trinkets. This is no trinket, Song replied calmly. With your permission, I will activate it. Han nodded with visible boredom. Song pressed his palm against the box's surface. The top opened silently, and a holographic display sprang to life above it. The hologram showed a star system not far from Earth. The image zoomed in on a small, uninhabited moon. As they watched, a beam of energy shot across space and struck the moon. For a moment, nothing happened. Then the entire moon shuddered and began to break apart, not in chunks but disintegrating into its component atoms. In less than 30 seconds, where a moon had been, only a cloud of particles remained. The room fell silent. Ambassador Song let the silence stretch before speaking. What you just witnessed was recorded yesterday, using less than 1% of Earth's defensive capability. The technology you see is called the Prometheus Array. It can be directed at any target within 50 light-years. Admiral Lee's composed expression cracked slightly. This is some trick. A digital fabrication. Song touched the box again, and the display changed to show the hegemony fleet currently orbiting Earth. Small targeting indicators appeared on each ship. No trick, Admiral. Earth has maintained the appearance of limited technology by choice. We have observed the hegemony's expansion for decades. We know your methods. We chose to remain hidden until we were ready. Diplomat Han's colors had shifted to a muted gray, indicating distress in his species. If you possessed such technology, you would have already made yourselves known in galactic affairs. Earth has a complex history, Song explained. We've learned that revealing power too soon often leads to conflict. We preferred to develop in peace. You threaten the hegemony? Han's voice rose in pitch. No civilization has dared such insolence in 1,000 years. Ambassador Song closed the box with a soft click. This is not a threat, merely information. Earth offers this warning once: leave our system peacefully, or face consequences beyond your comprehension. We have no interest in conquest or in joining your empire. We wish only to be left alone. Admiral Lee had regained his composure. The Emperor commands 1,000,000 ships. This display, impressive though it may be, cannot stand against such might. We don't need to stand against them, Song replied. We only need to ensure that attacking Earth costs more than the Emperor is willing to pay. He stood up, signaling the end of the meeting. You have 1 day to withdraw your forces. After that, we will consider any hegemony ships in our system as hostile. As they left the shuttle, one of Song's guards whispered, "Do you think they'll leave?" Song watched the hegemony officials huddled in urgent conversation. No. They can't afford to. If word spreads that they retreated from a primitive world, other systems might rebel. Back on the hegemony flagship, Admiral Lee and Diplomat Han argued fiercely. It must be a bluff, Han insisted. One primitive world cannot possess such power. And if it's not a bluff? Lee questioned. Han's colors shifted to a deep red. Then we must strike immediately, before they can deploy this weapon. Ready the fleet for a disciplinary action. Target their lunar colonies first, a demonstration of our own. And if they retaliate? Then we will see if their warning was truth or deception, Han replied. Either way, Earth must learn that none defy the hegemony and survive. The hegemony attack began at dawn the next day. Earth's lunar colonies had no warning when the first energy beams struck the surface. Massive explosions threw lunar dust into the vacuum of space. Admiral Lee watched from his command chair, satisfaction evident in his expression. The humans will now understand the price of defiance, he stated to Commander Kim. But within minutes, his satisfaction turned to confusion. Despite the destructive bombardment, no distress signals came from the lunar colonies. No emergency evacuations. No panicked communications. Scan for life signs, ordered Lee. Commander Kim worked her console, then looked up with concern. Sir, the lunar bases appear to be empty. Before Lee could respond, Earth's orbital defense system emerged from its hidden state. Satellites that had appeared to be simple communication relays suddenly transformed, unfolding complex arrays of technology previously invisible to hegemony scans. In the United Earth Defense Council's underground command center, General Choi looked to President Bay. She nodded once, her face grim. Activate Prometheus, General Choi ordered. Dr. Park pressed her palm against a biometric scanner. Prometheus array engaging. Target parameters set to disable rather than destroy. On the view screens, they watched as invisible waves distorted space around 5 hegemony destroyers at the edge of their fleet. The ships seemed to compress slightly, metal hulls buckling under immense gravitational pressure. Smaller vessels nearby were pulled toward the larger ships, causing collisions and chaos throughout the formation. Aboard the flagship, Admiral Lee was thrown to the deck as the ship's artificial gravity fluctuated wildly. "What's happening?" he demanded, pulling himself up using his command chair. "Unknown energy pattern detected," reported the science officer, his voice shaking. "It appears to be some form of localized gravity manipulation." Through the viewport, Lee watched in horror as one of his prized dreadnoughts crumpled like paper, its hull integrity failing under pressure no ship was designed to withstand. 3 more capital ships were torn apart from within, their power cores rupturing in brilliant flashes of light. "Full retreat!" Lee shouted. "Get us out of this system." But the hegemony's retreat was already in chaos. Ships collided with each other as they tried to maneuver in the disrupted space. Several vessels couldn't engage their faster-than-light drives due to damage. As quickly as it had begun, the gravitational attack ceased. A message transmitted across all hegemony frequencies, Ambassador Song's calm voice filling every ship's command deck. This was a fraction of Earth's defensive capability. "You were warned. The next attack will not be so merciful. You have 1 hour to leave our system." Admiral Lee's flagship limped away from Earth, joining 37 surviving ships from his once proud fleet of over 200. He entered his private chamber to make the most difficult transmission of his career. On the hegemony throne world of Nurazan, Emperor Kong sat upon his living throne, which adjusted constantly to his body's needs. The vast throne room was designed to make visitors feel small and insignificant, with ceilings that stretched hundreds of meters high and walls lined with trophies from conquered worlds. When Admiral Lee's hologram appeared before him, kneeling in submission, the Emperor's eyes narrowed. "Explain this failure," Emperor Kong demanded, his voice echoing through the chamber. Admiral Lee kept his head bowed as he recounted Earth's unexpected defenses. When he finished, silence filled the throne room for several long moments. "This is unacceptable," the Emperor finally said. No world defies the hegemony and survives. He turned to his supreme commander, who stood at attention nearby. Deploy the Imperial Armada. All of it. The supreme commander's eyes widened slightly. The entire Armada, Emperor? That would leave our core worlds with reduced protection. These humans must learn the price of resistance, Kong replied coldly. I want their world reduced to ash, their colonies annihilated, their very memory erased from the galaxy. Back on Earth, celebrations were short-lived. Intelligence Director Yoon rushed into the Defense Council chamber with urgent news. The hegemony is mobilizing its entire fleet, she reported, displaying intercepted communications. Over 10,000 ships, including Planet Killer-class vessels. General Choi stood up. Can our defenses hold against such numbers? Dr. Park looked up from her calculations. The Prometheus array can handle perhaps 1,000 ships before overheating. Our nanite defenses might take out another 1,000. But 10,000. President Bay listened silently, then turned to General Choi. It's time for the counteroffensive we discussed. How quickly can your team deploy? General Choi straightened. The stealth fleet can depart within 6 hours. If your intelligence is correct about the hegemony capital's defenses, we have a fighting chance. And if the intelligence is wrong, asked Representative Moon. Then Earth will face the full might of the hegemony alone, General Choi replied. And even our advanced technology may not save us. Director Yoon activated another display showing the vast fleet gathering at the hegemony staging area. They'll arrive in approximately 3 days. Whatever we're going to do, we need to do it fast. General Choi stood inside the cramped command center of the stealth vessel Silent Arrow, watching his small fleet of 12 ships prepare for departure. Each ship contained only 30 crew members, all volunteers who understood the mission might be one way. Final systems check complete, reported Captain Jean, his second-in-command. Quantum drives ready. Stealth systems at full capacity. General Choi nodded. Commence departure sequence. Maintain stealth protocols until we clear the solar system. The 12 Earth vessels slipped away from their hidden lunar base, their advanced hulls absorbing all scanning signals. To any observer, they would appear as nothing more than background radiation. Meanwhile, Earth prepared for the coming onslaught. The Prometheus array was reinforced. Orbital platforms deployed nanite defense systems. Civilian populations moved to underground shelters built decades ago for precisely this scenario. 3 days later, the Imperial Armada arrived in Earth's system. It was a sight that would have broken the spirit of most civilizations, thousands of warships darkening Earth's skies, their massive silhouettes blocking out the stars. Planet killer vessels positioned themselves at strategic points, their main weapons capable of cracking a world's crust. Admiral Ming, chosen by the Emperor himself to lead this punitive expedition, opened communications with Earth. Your resistance ends today, he announced. Surrender now, and we will permit some of your population to survive as servants. Continue defiance, and we will reduce your world to molten rock. President Bay herself responded from the Defense Council chamber. We offered you peace. You chose war. She cut the transmission with a gesture. Activate all defense systems, she ordered. The battle began with an overwhelming barrage from the hegemony fleet. Energy weapons and kinetic projectiles rained down toward Earth, only to be intercepted by invisible shields that bent space itself around the planet. Earth's orbital platforms then released clouds of nanites, microscopic robots that spread through space like metallic dust. When they contacted hegemony ships, they began disassembling the hulls at the molecular level, converting metal into more nanites in a cascading effect. Aboard his flagship, Admiral Ming watched in horror as dozens, then hundreds of his ships began dissolving before his eyes. What sorcery is this? He demanded. Unknown technology, Admiral, his science officer replied. The nanites are adaptive, our countermeasures only work temporarily before they evolve. Ming slammed his fist on his command console. Launch the planet killers. End this now. 5 massive vessels moved into position, their main weapons charging. Each was capable of delivering enough energy to fracture a planet's tectonic plates. As they prepared to fire, Ming allowed himself a cruel smile. Across the void of space, 12 Earthships emerged from stealth directly behind the Hegemony fleet. They had not traveled to the Hegemony homeworld as the Defense Council had led their own people to believe. Instead, they had hidden in the shadow of Neptune, waiting for this moment. "Deploy quantum entanglement bombs," ordered General Choi. Each Earthship launched a small projectile toward the nearest planet killer. The projectiles passed through the Hegemony's shields as if they weren't there, then attached to the massive vessel's hulls. Detonation in 3, 2, 1. Captain Jean counted down. There was no explosion. Instead, strange fields of energy enveloped each planet killer. Inside these fields, the laws of physics began to break down. Matter lost cohesion. Energy weapons failed to fire. Communication systems went silent. "What's happening?" demanded Admiral Ming as his tactical display showed 5 planet killers suddenly disabled. As the battle raged around Earth, General Choi opened a direct communication channel to the Admiral's flagship. "This is General Choi of Earth Defense Forces. Your planet killers have been neutralized by quantum entanglement bombs. Each bomb creates a field where atomic bonds cannot maintain stability. Your ships are currently dissolving at the subatomic level." Admiral Ming's face contorted with rage. One primitive world cannot defeat the Imperial Armada. We still have thousands of ships. "You misunderstand, Admiral," General Choi replied calmly. "We didn't come to defeat your armada. We came to buy time." As he spoke, similar energy fields began appearing throughout the Hegemony fleet, spreading like a virus from ship to ship. Hundreds of vessels became disabled in minutes. "What is happening?" Ming shouted as his own flagship systems began failing. "While you prepared your armada, a second stealth fleet was dispatched to your homeworld," General Choi explained. "Even now, they are delivering our terms directly to Emperor Kong." He paused, allowing his words to sink in. "Your emperor has a choice to make: surrender, or watch as every Hegemony world's defense system fails simultaneously." Admiral Ming's face drained of color. "Impossible. Our home defenses are impenetrable." "Just as your armada was invincible?" General Choi asked. "We've spent decades studying the Hegemony while you dismissed us as primitives. That was your greatest mistake." As General Choi spoke, Ming's communication officer received an urgent transmission from Nurazan. The officer's hands trembled as he transferred it to the main screen. The image showed Emperor Kong, his throne room filled with Earth soldiers in stealth armor. Standing before him was Ambassador Song, holding a familiar black box. "Admiral Ming," the Emperor said, his voice strained. "Stand down all forces immediately. The humans have made their point." Emperor Kong walked slowly down the marble steps of his palace, each step clearly painful to his pride. The vast plaza below was filled with representatives from across the galaxy, delegates from the Hegemony's former vassal worlds and Earth's diplomatic corps. Above them, Earthships hovered alongside Hegemony vessels, a visible symbol of the shift in power. The Emperor reached the ceremonial table where President Bei waited. Her simple blue uniform stood in stark contrast to his elaborate royal garments. "I, Emperor Khan, eighth of my name, ruler of the Galactic Hegemony," he began, his voice carrying across the silent plaza, "hereby acknowledge the defeat of the Imperial forces and accept the terms presented by Earth." He pressed his palm to the document before him. The agreement glowed briefly, recording his biological signature. President Bei stepped forward. "Earth accepts your surrender. As agreed, the Hegemony will release all subjugated worlds from service. Your military will be reduced to defensive capabilities only. And a new galactic cooperative will be established, where all species have equal standing." The crowd erupted in cheers, mostly from delegates of the 27 formerly enslaved species. After generations of servitude, freedom had come from the most unexpected source, a planet the Hegemony had dismissed as primitive. 2 weeks later, the first Galactic Cooperative Assembly convened in the newly constructed meeting hall in Geneva. The circular chamber contained seats for representatives from over 30 worlds, with room for more as additional planets joined. Ambassador Song stood at the central podium, surveying the historic gathering. Species of all forms filled the seats, some humanoid, others with physical forms that defied easy description. Former enemies sat side by side, their ancient conflicts now overshadowed by the promise of a new beginning. For too long, the galaxy operated under the belief that might makes right, Song began. The hegemony conquered because they could, and others submitted because they must. Today, we begin a different path. He gestured to the Earth delegation. Earth knows the cost of conflict. Our own history is filled with wars, with conquerors who believed their power gave them the right to rule others. We learned, through painful experience, that true strength comes not from domination but cooperation. From the hegemony section, a voice called out. How do we know Earth won't simply replace the hegemony as galactic tyrant? Your weapons clearly surpass anything we possess. General Choi, now serving as Earth's defense minister, stood to address the concern. A fair question. As part of the cooperative charter, Earth will share defensive technologies with all member worlds. No single planet should hold the power to destroy others. This announcement sent shockwaves through the assembly. Even former vassal worlds looked surprised. More importantly, continued Ambassador Song, the cooperative will be governed by a council with equal representation from all worlds. Earth will have one vote, the same as any other member. Former Emperor Kong, now serving simply as the hegemony delegate, looked stunned. You would give away your advantage so easily? After defeating the greatest empire the galaxy has ever known? President Bei rose from her seat. We don't see it as giving away an advantage. Earth has no desire to maintain military superiority over potential friends and allies. Our goal was never domination. She walked to the center of the chamber. When your fleet demanded tribute from Earth, you expected fear and submission. Instead, we warned you to run. Not because we wanted war, but because we understood that peace cannot exist where one power demands others kneel. The assembly fell silent, absorbing her words. The age of empires is over, she declared. The age of cooperation begins today. 1 year later, Ambassador Song stood on the observation deck of the cooperative's new headquarters, a massive space station at the galactic crossroads. Beside him stood Director Yoon, watching ships from dozens of worlds come and go freely through the transit hub. Did you ever imagine it would work this well? Yoon asked, gesturing to the bustling activity below, where species that had been mortal enemies now conducted trade and cultural exchanges. Song smiled. There have been challenges. The hegemony traditionalists still protest the new order. 3 systems have refused to join. But yes, I believe we're on the right path. A small ship docked at the main terminal, distinctive in design, clearly not from any known world. The arrival caused a stir among station personnel. Another first contact, Song observed. The 5th this month. Word is spreading through the galaxy that the hegemony's reign is over. Director Yoon nodded. They come seeking trade or knowledge or protection. Some come simply because they can now travel without fear. As they watched, a delegation of unfamiliar beings emerged from the ship, looking around with obvious wonder at the diverse gathering of species. What will you tell them when they ask why Earth chose this path? Yoon asked. Why we didn't simply replace the hegemony at the top. Ambassador Song considered the question as he prepared to greet the newcomers. I'll tell them what is true, that Earth remembered its own history. That we learned liberation means nothing if it only changes who holds the chains. He straightened his uniform. And perhaps I'll remind them of our first warning to the hegemony. The warning that started everything, run. Not because we wanted to chase them, but because sometimes the greatest power is knowing when not to use it at all.